after my brother failed at playing piano, my mom pushed me into playing piano nonstop. And so I played piano from the age of about 5 till 17. When I was 14, I was a member of the National Piano Players Guild. So I played classical music and in jazz bands in middle school and high school. I played saxophone and ended up playing a lot of concert band. And the one thing I can say about playing that much piano is that it does not impress girls.
Rob Ruckus,
Nick Collins,
Kate Clover,
Keith Semple,
Isaiah Mitchell,
Billy Harvey,
Tim Howard. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Hang, right here from Almost Famous Magazine. I'm your host, Scott Saldinger. Thank you for hanging with us and getting to know musicians, learning their stories, and getting to know them beyond the music. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and share. YouTube's been around a long time. You know what to do. If you've been with us before, have you shared us with your friends? What are you waiting for? You came back. We must be doing something well. You can also take us on the go if you prefer to listen to your podcasts anywhere other than YouTube. So, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. Please find us there. Today on The Hang, we're joined by Chicago, one of my favorite cities, indie rock standouts, Billy Joel Jr. I got a couple questions about that name because I've listened to them and I'm just not hearing them. But a band turning heads with sharp hooks, raw emotion, and a live energy that feels both chaotic and heartfelt. 2025 brought the release of their first full-length album, You're a Star, led by frontman Ari Levin. The group blends scrappy guitars and brutally honest songwriting, capturing the spirit of the DIY scene while carving out a sound that's unmistakably their own. You okay there, Charlie?
I'm good.
All right, keep up with me. With new music gaining momentum and a growing buzz well beyond the Windy City, Billy Joel Jr. is hanging with us to talk about songs, influence, what's next in 2026. Guys, Ari, Charlie, Nate, welcome to The Hang.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We tend to start with getting to know people, and we've never met before. I'm digging your music. I'm gonna find out where the name came from because at some point I'm so curious. But let's start at the beginning. Ari, how did your relationship with music begin? Like, did you find music or did music find you? And what led you to where you are today with this band?
Good question. I am the middle child of immigrant parents. And so after my brother failed at playing piano, my mom pushed me into playing piano nonstop. And so I played piano from the age of about 5 till 17. When I was 14, I was a member of the National Piano Players Guild. So I played classical music and in jazz bands in middle school and high school. I played saxophone and ended up playing a lot of concert band. And the one thing I can say about playing that much piano is that it does not impress girls when you're that old. So I picked up the guitar and started playing power chords and playing chords of the music that I was listening to at the time, which was a lot of like emo, indie, pop punk, like of the 2000s. So between Modest Mouse, the Shins, the Antlers, Fall Out Boy, stuff like that. That was really inspirational for me and easy to just strum on a guitar that would hopefully impress a girl and maybe they'd talk to me. But that's kind of where that all started. I can go deeper into like where it came from there. I started playing in bands in high school and college, but that's kind of where it all started.
Well, did you get a degree in music or did you study something else?
No, I studied engineering. So I went to school because, again, immigrant parents, they wouldn't let me go to school for anything that wasn't lucrative or would help me land a job in my real life. And even to this day, my mom will comment about the songs that we release and say, I like this one, but you should keep your day job, which is always a good motivation to keep working on the music.
Well, and we can certainly talk about the need for that these days, just because of the economics of the music business, for sure. And we'll hit on some of that in a little bit. And look, I totally hear you. I gave up trumpet for guitar because really no one was knocking on my door going, I want to date you with that, being a trumpet player. Nate, how about you? How'd your relationship with music start?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like music found me. I feel like I'm somebody who was born with a lot of just like musical stems and rhythms, if you will. I was born and raised in Chicago. Definitely was raised a lot around like a lot of like Spanish music, cumbia, like salsa, reggaeton, and then some hip hop. And when I started to turn about like my early teen years, that's when I saw bands like Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco and other like emo pop punk bands. And I would watch their music videos being like, that is cool as hell. This is also a time where I discovered the Beatles. And so I asked for a guitar for Christmas, and I got one when I was in 7th grade. I didn't really want to learn until 9th grade, where there was a girl in my class that I was trying to impress. I said, skip the piano, skip the sax. I went straight to the guitar, and it worked.
Smart.
It did work. We dated for 4 months, but how well did it work? Ever since that, I just kind of kept playing guitar in high school bands, and then was in a band later in my late teen years / early 20s, and then just kept doing it. I did not go to school for music. I went to school for theater, and then I got my graduate degree in audio, like sound production. So that's where I'm at here.
Yeah.
So you probably have very high expectations when you walk into a club of the front of house guy.
Oh yeah, I am immediately the guy who's the bridge between the band and the sound guy.
It's a very important role, and you should get paid a little extra for that. That makes all the difference.
Look at the 7B, the headphones. Like, I'm ready.
You got it going. So Charlie, let's see. Are we going to have a trifecta of I left another instrument for a guitar to get a girl? Is that the running theme?
I appreciate that connection. I mean, I was similar to Ari and kind of like, I was like classically trained and for me it was low brass, always in the bass clef. So trombones and euphoniums and tubas and stuff like that. And girl wise, an ex-girlfriend was the first person to teach me how to hold and strum a bass guitar. Because she was a good player. And yeah, I really enjoyed being like reading sheet music and performing with friends in ensembles and orchestras and stuff like that. And the way to kind of translate the way that translated to my like personal music listening was through kind of bass textures and dream pop and shoegaze and things like that. So My Bloody Valentines and Beach House and Ride and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of how I got here, and grateful that I did.
Cool.
I think one thing Nate mentioned, we all kind of also have a bit of a Beatles affinity. All of us except for Carl.
He's getting there.
But we're converting him. One of the things, my parents would let me play Beatles songs in the house. So I could play those on the piano, but nothing else on the piano other than classical music.
Yeah. Speaking of Carl, he wasn't able to make it today. How did he find you guys? How did this all come together? And where does he play into this?
Yeah, we were playing in Chicago for about a year or so, and then Nate joined the band after our guitarist left. And in that time period, our drummer was trying to move to LA, and so we were sort of sunsetting our old drummer. And at the time, Nate and Blake, our producer, were at this mixer at Sleeping Village, one of the venues in Chicago. And they ran into Carl, who knew Blake through some old roommate connection in college. And so Nate kind of introduced Carl to the band in some ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a mixer, and then he wanted to jam out. He was in another band, and we said, come through and jam out. And he, I guess it was something about our vibe, our tunes, whatever. He just kind of stuck around. And when the time came where we needed a new drummer, I remember distinctly Ari and I having a conversation, and Ari being like, he's too busy. And I said, try again. And then he did, and now Carl's in the band,
Great.
I'm grateful for that.
Well, Ari, as someone who brought together these guys and you've got an idea for the sound and what you want to write, everybody brings a little bit of texture, their own little spice to the stew, so to say, right? Tell me a little bit about what these guys bring to the overall sound of the band and why, why them over anyone else? What's their secret sauce for the overall sound?
I think it's a good point. We are a stew. If we were to be a dish, I think it's a really interesting description. Uh, I mean, I could say it like this. If I wanted to, if I wanted to, I could go and find talented, classically trained, like truly professional musicians and pay them a crazy rate and have them produce something, but it wouldn't sound in a way the way that Billy Joel Jr. does. It wouldn't sound or have the flavor or textured style that we have today. And I think part of that benefit is that even if I'm not a college trained musician, if Charlie didn't go to Juilliard, Nate didn't go to Eastman School of Music, we can still create things together and have our own styles blend well. Um, I think like you can talk about our backgrounds like, between Nate having more Latin influences in some of his rhythms and his style of playing, um, the way he kind of helps direct songs to transform them from truly how I write them on just an acoustic or a piano in my apartment, and helping us transform them into a full band piece. Something that wouldn't happen without the kind of collaboration we have between myself, Charlie, and Nate and Carl. Carl, obviously being from Lebanon and having Middle Eastern influences, he plays in a number of different Middle Eastern and Arabic-focused music style groups. They just did some reviews on Ziad Rahbani, who's this incredible Lebanese. I want to call him indie musician, but he's truly like one of the most famous musicians in all of Lebanon. They did a review of his music, and his influences from that perspective definitely come through in some of the rhythms and beats that we play together. Charlie and I have a very deep background in like Midwestern emo, indie, and I'm gonna just call it sad boy music at some points, right? Like truly like a band like Pine Grove, where like, he writes these beautiful songs that are so simple in the way that they're kind of arranged, but they come to life through some of the or like instrumentation that he puts in those songs. Um, I don't know. That's a bit of a summary. Um, I don't know if that answers the question though. Maybe I'm rambling.
No. I mean, that everybody brings their own. Everybody brings their own little thing, and it's obvious by listening to your music that there are those influences in there, right? If you go through the catalog, you guys would the album out. You've got a number of singles and EPs on Bandcamp. It's definitely not sitting there. This is not vanilla music. This is not just a bunch of hired hands. It really sounds like everybody had something to do with creating a sound and a texture. Nate, because he's a sound engineer, may have something to do with that. We don't know. Maybe we'll give him credit that he does or does not deserve. Charlie may feel otherwise, but when you got a sound guy in the band. You always got a guy who's gonna put the finishing touch. He's gonna put that extra spice on, right? Hey.
He's a co-producer for a good reason.
We're very grateful for the audio connection. Yes.
So, speaking of the album and the songs you have, singles are singles, and we live in a really weird ass world these days because I grew up listening. I'd put a piece of vinyl down front to back. You never wanted to skip anything because you never knew when you were going to actually scratch something, right? So you'd play the whole album. But the honest thing is we live in a different world these days. And a lot of people are shufflers. A lot of people will pick a track, whatever. I'm always curious, and you guys may have different sentiment on this. But for those who are just getting to know Billy Joel Jr. today, and I think we'll mention Billy Joel space Jr. a lot just for the sake of search engine, right? But for the sake of SEO. But of the catalog that you guys have out, right, that everyone should go buy on Bandcamp, do you each have do you have a song? Each of you have a song that is like, if the entire band's the meal, the entire catalog is the meal. What's the appetizer? What's the one song, two songs maybe that you're like, wasn't a single, but man, that really encapsulates who we are and the feel for our music. And if you listen to this, you're going to really go to the end of the meal and listen to all of it. Ari, you gave me that look, so you get to go first on this one, man.
Well, I'm thinking about, we had this like discussion at our album release show at Empty Bottle last Friday, was the 18th. That was a week ago. Thursday, thank you. Yeah. And we were talking about this, and I feel like my answer is She's Always on My Mind, the album version. But I want to hear what the other guys have to say before I kind of go into my spiel.
The reason that Ari is laughing is because we all had different answers to a similar question to this, which just was kind of, mind blowing to me that we all made these songs and all love these songs and all would answer this. We're on the same page about a lot. So I agree that She's Always on My Mind is a great pick. I still think I would pick Isn't It Funny, which I still think is, lyrically and musically a good hors d'oeuvre to the album and to our sound, and I love to play it. So
I think my answer would be: are we talking strict non-singles, or are we talking? It doesn't really.
I think the word is appetizer, right? Like appetizer, right? Like what's gonna wet?
Song I'm sorry.
In the catalog, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything in the catalog, yeah. Anything in the catalog.
There's a song that we've got that was recorded really early on, but the more time that goes on and the more I see it requested at shows, I think to answer this question, as an appetizer, as a first-time listener, if you're looking at a catalog and you're like, which one do I start with that's going to give us a good taste for the rest? We have a song out called You're So Tall, and it's one of our earliest singles. It was recorded on like day 1 or 2 of the guys in the studio ever. And there's something about just I don't want to call it bare bones, but straight to the point, like garage rocky song. The lyrics that Ari has written for that song, it's incredibly catchy. It's one of those songs that I feel like as a band sometimes we have kind of moved on past a little, but yet the audiences still to this day will shout like, play You're So Tall. And I think if you were to listen to that song before listening to everything else, you'll get a good taste on what Billy Joel Jr. is, without a doubt.
It's pretty persuasive, Nate. I might want to change my answer.
It's just like, you ever stand in front of somebody at a concert that's really tall and you're like, God damn, you are so tall.
Please. I'm 5'7.5". I know I live that song. What do you think, before we get to Ari's pick, what do you think Carl's would be? Any guesses?
As an appetizer.
What did he say? I don't know.
He would say baseball bat.
He would. Oh, that's his favorite one to play.
That's a good question. I think if I were to speak for Carl, and when he watches this, he's going to tell us. But he does love this song that we have called Baseball Bat, which is off our Rubber Hose EP. He loves to go crazy on that song. And I think if I were to just speak for Carl here a little bit, you got a good amount of Carl going crazy. You got a good amount of everyone else going crazy. And it's just an all-around fun song.
Yeah, I mean, that song, the recorded version of it is so unique because it's literally the first time we were playing it in the studio. It's just a live mic and then a couple of overdubs. So it is definitely an impactful song in that way. I don't know. I think Carl's pick, if I can say, I think his pick would probably be Bad Heart.
I think I agree, yeah. I was thinking that too.
Because it has such dynamic rhythms and it's a good like kicker. You know, we talk about when we do live sets, Scott, we like to think of a song that, okay, you're about to go up, maybe you're the headliner, maybe you're a support slot, there's people at the bar just grabbing a drink. What's a song that you start playing that people are like, oh, I got to get in there, I got to hear what they're playing? I feel like there's a number of ones we have. You're So Tall is definitely one of those songs that's like that. My pick, She's Always on My Mind, is a pick because, you know, we have a version of that on the EP, and then a version of it on the album. So I think the album version is so much more impactful from a arrangement and dynamic perspective because the band is we've been playing that song together for so long now, and we really found how it should go in a way, and it has elements that are garagey, that are kind of punky, that are sort of there's gang vocals of us coming together, some ad lib stuff that Blake kept in there because I think it's just cute. But I think it's a good definition of the sound that we have.
Cool. Let me ask you this. I mean, you're playing gigs now around Chicago and stuff. It's always interesting, when you're first kind of getting out to play a cover or two. Do you guys play toss anyone else's songs into your set?
Yeah, we have in the past a couple times.
Yeah. So what were those choices? It's always interesting given the style you're playing.
To get ahead of the curve here, we have not covered Who You Think We Might Have Covered. We have not done that. I think it's a legal thing, but we've played songs from the Black Keys, Smashing Pumpkins, Radiohead,
Oasis.
Sabrina Carpenter. We did a Sabrina Carpenter song at a show.
We should do that one again.
I agree. We've practiced like Alt J songs.
We've been talking about like a Vampire Weekend set, or even doing like some System of a Down. So a little bit of there's options. I think the thing we have when it comes to the benefit of the band is like the variety and the genre that we all listen to. It makes it tough to pick just one cover. And so we all want to play different things at times, but the one thing we all want to play is our own music. So it's always easier just to play originals.
True. But look, if it's 2026 and you see that these guys are playing out, you never know what you're going to get. You never know what may pull you away from the bar. Yeah. So I'm curious, how many cease and desist letters from Billy Joel's management, lawyers, etc., have you guys received? Because it's definitely a name that if you go, wait a minute, okay, I know what this is going to be because of the name, you're making a huge mistake. But how did you guys land on using that name? And have you heard from Mr. Joel's leadership?
I'll let Ari take that one about the creation of the name.
We have not heard from their leadership. I think it's one of those things that we fall in a bit of a Weird Al law. I don't think if Weird Al hasn't gotten sued for his parody songs, I think we're going to be fine. And it's probably too much of a legal lift at this point for the William Joel Foundation to figure that out. What I do think, as a big fan of Billy Joel himself, one day we'll have to do some kind of honorific for him, and hopefully, his lawyers see that and can understand that we're just a big fans of his work, and the name itself has transformed from what it originally was. As a joke that we were his sons, so that we go out there in the early days of the band.
Statistically, given the number of marriages he's had, could be a possibility.
Not impossible.
So,
not outside the realm of reality.
We'd go out there, we'd say, "What's up? We're Billy Joel Jr. We're not a cover band. He's our dad." And then we'd start playing, when in the early days we played covers and a couple of originals. Now it's like 99% originals, maybe one cover in the set at all. But back then it would be like, even 60-40 split originals covers. And we'd say, "Hey, this song, our dad did not write this song. We wrote this one. He didn't help us at all." And we'd play one of our originals, like Leo or You're So Tall or something. And then when we play a cover, we'd say, "And this next song is Piano Man." And then we'd play like a Nirvana song or like Radiohead or something. And kind of just subvert your expectations of what is about to happen. But that was kind of like a little fun humor, a little game we play. Non-serious stuff, but as the time has gone on, being in the Chicago scene and outside, touring outside of it, we've met people who have connections to the music industry, and people who are split their time between Nashville, New York, and LA. Just a couple people we met at that bar when we were down in Nashville too were kind of eye-opening to me, of the relationships they have to people in the music industry. And, Billy Joel Jr. as a name is just our way of trying to grab any nepotism we can get our hands on and leverage it to the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we tell you who our dad is. You should listen to our music.
You should listen to it. I mean, if you respect him and if you want to get in his good favors, you should be nice to his kids.
So if you were to have to change, would the name change to the Nepo Baby Band?
Probably something like that. That's not a bad option. If you're okay with letting us use that, Scott, we'll definitely take that one.
You know what? It's free. It's free.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
We like free.
For you guys. Speaking of which, your mom made a good point. Look, I went to film school and I ended up doing other stuff because if you're not the next Steven Spielberg, what do you make? What kind of money are you gonna make, right? How do you guys feel about, kind of having to be more than just musicians in today's music business, right? If you're going to really get your name out there in a world that is not, 3 or 4 places of media like we used to have, having to be, creatives connected all the time just to keep perpetuating the idea and the brand of your music so that you can, sell more of it, get more people out to gigs and stuff. It seemed, and struggle with the revenue piece of it, right? I mean, it seems like a treadmill that every musician is on these days. How do you guys balance that? And what are your thoughts on where this can take you so that you're not having to go and be an engineer by day?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'd say that, I think I speak for the band when I say that we'd like to do it more. We'd like to make more money and tour more and record more and tour what we record more. And perhaps that will come in 2026 and perhaps it won't, and we'll figure it out along the way. But I think that it's integrated into our lives in a pretty healthy way at this point. I don't know, with people like us who have jobs, I'm an art historian by trade. We have we have to make decisions about what we do with our time and who we spend it with. And there are many decisions there. We have life partners and things to do, but the fact that we have all pretty much committed to spend a week plus or a day a week plus together, rehearsing and recording and performing, I don't know, it goes a long way. And I don't know a lot of people that do that kind of stuff consistently. So I don't know. I would like it to be more, but it's if this is it, then it's pretty good too.
And one thing I've it's hard to imagine. I mean, because time is a finite thing and we don't get any of it back. But I mean, I know some people who are in 3 or 4 bands and a day job and they have a family. I'm like, do you ever sleep? It's crazy.
Yeah. Thankfully I'm in one band and I don't have a family like that just yet. But yeah, it's a constant battle. I think I find myself personally in a position where I do sound around the city, not only in the studio that we rehearse at sometimes, but at a museum here in the city of Chicago, and I teach a audio recording technique class at a college in the suburb. So I find myself in a position that I can promote the music if I need to, but also interact and meet people that are eager to be creatives or record music or perform. That I found has led to connections to these people coming to our shows. So it's this thing where I'm working for money, but I can still promote the music and kind of have the two tie into each other. I think that's where I found a lot of my success is I can use my skills in my day job, but also my band life, and they just work really well together.
I think you get good opportunities, Nate. You ran into Nadia from Pussy Riot when she was doing her exhibition.
Mm-hmm, yep, I worked on her exhibition piece at the Museum of Contemporary Art, and that just allowed me to be in the same room with her and to have conversations. And now she follows Billy Joel Jr. and myself on Instagram, and it's one of those things where if I wasn't in that job or in that environment, I would never have met this person. And now there's a connection there, right? which I'm always constantly grateful for. And I hope the guys are too.
Well,
I mean, that's a real, it's amazing because if we are not putting ourselves out there, what is going to come back? Opportunity to be in the right place at the right time. I mean, there are a lot of people who live inside of, digital devices. They don't leave their home. They don't get out as much. And I think it's a way that we as society are losing out on opportunity. As it used to be where, if you had a question, you had to go to a library. If you needed directions, you stopped at a gas station. You talked to strangers, all that stuff. And granted, we had to deal with a pandemic, but I think we've also gotten to a point where a lot of people are just not as in the right place at the right time as they used to be. So I think that's really cool for you that you get an opportunity to have your life revolve around the music industry outside of being focused on a band. And, concentration is the key to all success. That's why I'm like, how can people be in 4 or 5 bands, right? I'm like, you guys seem to really be focusing on making this successful. And I think that'll probably draw that success in over time.
And I know, just to kind of jump in here, our drummer Carl was in a band as he joined us. He was in another like pretty full-time project, and it did eventually down the line have to be a conversation that he needs to have with that band, with this band, and ultimately he had to evaluate all the time that he's spending in both places, and he had to pick one. Thankfully, it was us, and we love Carl, and no disrespect to the other band at all, but something's got to give,
No. Again, there's only so much time, and we have to get out and live too. So
yeah.
One of the things I'm always fascinated with, we go through life with, we'll run into people. Some become mentors, some become friends, and some make a monumental impact on us. Ari, I'm curious, besides your mom, because mom is mom, is there an individual who's had like a really huge, impactful connection with you on your musical career? Someone who's made a really big impact on how you look and see music, and gives you direction?
It's a good question. I maybe have a couple answers for that. In the way that like I found music early on was through the Beatles. My parents would put them on to help them practice English. When I was a kid, I thought, oh, I want to sound like Paul McCartney when I sing. And luckily for me, I now perfectly sound just like Paul McCartney whenever I am singing.
It's true.
Thanks, guys. But in the Chicago scene, there's a number of musicians who are doing, what we want to be doing. The goal is to become a working musician, to day in, day out, do this thing so that it, either fully supports or mostly supports the lifestyle and quality of life we want to live. And I'll have a beer or get coffee with people like Ryan Nolan is a person that I go to a lot. And Ryan Nolan he's a different genre of music entirely, but he's a musician in a band called Football Head. So he's the main singer, songwriter for that band. And I'll run into him at the gym. I'll talk to him, get a beer with him, and just get his advice on, how he's traversing the music industry. Because there's pieces of this that are an art, and then there's huge pieces of this that are an industry. And that having a way of maneuvering in this world alone, you just get lost. So I like to go to him for advice and kind of bounce ideas off of him. He's been really helpful. Other people in the music community have also been incredibly helpful. So Bridget Stevers is a name who I'll shout to the top of the mountain. Bridget is in a band called OK Cool. Incredible indie band here in Chicago. Bridget's also a booker involved in talent buying for Kickstand Productions, which does buying for a number of huge venues across the Midwest. And she's put us on to some incredible shows as support slots and as headlining slots at venues like Bottom Lounge and Subterranean here in Chicago, which are 2 huge capacity venues. Back in November, she put us on to open up for bands called The Frights and Remo Drive, were two big bands. They had kind of their heyday maybe 10 years ago for some of the bigger albums, but we opened for them in November to a crowd of 600 people, sold out that place. And that's somebody who I got to give a huge shout out to for the support and kindness and continued, they understand us, right? They really hear us and see us and know what we can do as a band. To your question of who, helped you see music in some ways, my first piano teacher, who I still am in contact with, her name is Luba Denenzon. She is a 83-year-old, she's now retired, piano teacher in Cleveland, Ohio. She was a concert pianist for the Cleveland Orchestra. And she really hammered into me that it's not a chore. Music is not a chore, that it's a gift. And it's best as a gift when it's with other people. So she always encouraged me to practice in front of people. Don't practice when no one's home. Practice when somebody's there, so they can at least tell you when you mess up or something. But really ingrained in me a lot of good practices I think I try to hold today.
That's a great story. And I'm sure your mom appreciated it because she got to hear you play.
Hi, Mom. When you listen to this, hope you like that one.
Charlie, how about you?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, I would probably talk about some of the first people that I played music with. But I mean, Cornely, I don't know. I would say these guys, Ari especially, just let me play his songs. It's a real gift. Haven't had a lot of people, in my life, like ask for my opinion and thoughts, like these guys do. So, yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Ari, was that part of his annual review?
One time, Charlie said something in his last annual review, where we were just talking about like the state of the band, and he said, "This shit means a lot to me," and him saying that meant the world to me. So no, not part of his annual review, just the kind of person he is.
That's good to know. Good job, Charlie. All right. I see he's got a look on his face. I got a look. All right. Tell me.
I've had the opportunity to think about this. First off, I want to name a few people. Obviously, we have our moms and stuff and our parents, but growing up, my dad was definitely a big lover of music. He spent some time DJing in the 90s, very minor. But I've always had a swath of different music that he would have on CDs, and I'm talking listening to things like Afroman's Because I Got High, and then the next CD is The Doors, and then the next CD is a cumbia song. Like, it's like all of these different things, and all of that has just kind of that love of music. Definitely got to give a shout out to my dad. But like people like Ari, I have never really had the opportunity to work with somebody who's so talented in songwriting. I mean, I've seen this man sit down and play like 3 or 4 chords and write some really lovely lyrics, and I'm like, how the hell does he do this sometimes? So I mean, when it comes to somebody who's like changing my perspective on how I approach music, it's definitely Ari, or people like my partner, who's also a songwriter in the city of Chicago, Sophia Cruz, who they just write songs, and I'm just like, why did you pick this chord, or why did you pick this lyric? And just kind of working with them, I've learned so much. But I also have a theater professor named Brian Fruits, who's he was back in my undergrad days, but he was very big on intention and being like focused and really giving a shit about your art, that I find translates well into Billy Joel Jr. today. I do have to, not always, but I do feel like I strive to be that guy in the band that's like, no, we should wear this, or we should have this on stage, or we should visually or intentionally be mindful about this choice that we're making on stage or in the studio. So I mean, long-winded answer, but Ari is going to be my pick.
Wow. I mean, this is a great annual review period. I'm telling you, I can only imagine what Carl would say if he was with us.
Scott, this is maybe a different speed from the punk bands you interview, but we have a very flat structure at BJJ LLC. We
HQLLC.
we like to encourage, bottom up, servant leadership style of management.
I love it. That's awesome. Oh man. We all go through life with life with hoping to strive for an opportunity, for something that we have as a dream, or some people have a bucket list, or it's Nate obviously does vision boards. So if you had an opportunity to collaborate with someone for a day in a studio, whether it be a producer, another musician, for Charlie, since he's into art history, you never know, right? Who would that artist be if you had a chance to get into a studio with them, and why? I'm gonna go with Nate first, because he had way too long to think about the last answer.
Yeah, I like that.
And I do suggest, I will tell you, Nate, I'm just gonna, because I didn't prep you guys on this up front, but I do recommend it be someone who could actually listen to the podcast, because every now and then people hear things and they make connections and things happen. And if unfortunately Prince is not available, just going to say that right up front. So
Right. Tupac though. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like the Jesus answer is Paul McCartney for me, just because dude has been everywhere. However, man, someone who might listen to the podcast. I think Kevin Parker of Tame Impala might listen to this podcast, and I would totally love to be in a studio with him. However, he is a solo dolo type guy, but I think I can break my way through to him.
All right. Well, it doesn't have to be someone who watches, because you never know who watches, who may know somebody, right? Like, we are about making those connections. And by the way, if the Billy Joel Jr. thing doesn't work out, maybe you could, become Paul McCartney's bastard children. I mean, Ari does want to sing like Paul McCartney. I mean, you got another angle there.
Yeah, Paul McCartney Jr.
I'm down.
There you go.
Okay,
there you
interesting.
Go. Charlie, how about you?
Yeah, well, because you expanded it, art historically, Danish Icelandic artist Olafur Eliasson would be pretty cool to do in installations. But music,
I was gonna say that. I was literally about to say that.
Took the answer right away from Ari.
Yeah, music-wise, my goat, my working goat is Adrienne Lenker of Big Thief, and her solo work obviously just kills me. I think she is the most genius songwriter currently alive. Sorry, Paul, and sorry, Ari. So I would do a lot to see her work in the studio and see why she makes the choices she does with her tunings and lyrics especially. It really always breaks my heart. So Adrienne, hope you're listening.
All right, Ari, how about you?
They took those top three answers are already taken. So for me, not like just like a songwriter, but like from a production perspective, because I think like I would love to work with people who have produced some of the greatest like albums in the last like 20 years. And there's a name that I think of a lot. Unfortunately, the first name I would have picked was Steve Albini, him being like a major like powerhouse in the Chicago recording industry. Passing away in the last couple of years was a huge loss for us, and a dream of ours. We can still record electrical audio, but there's something for me that's lost in the ability to work with like a hero of ours like Steve. Not just for the history of work that he's done, but his philosophy on recording and how he carries himself in the studio, I think would align really well with what our objectives are and our philosophies are. But another name, Phil Eck, this is maybe from left field, but Phil Eck is a producer who's done work with Built to Spill, Modest Mouse, The Shins, a lot of indie bands, basically working as like Sub Pop's go-to hit maker from the years of like 2003 to 2017. I don't think he's really done a lot of stuff since like the end of the pandemic, but definitely a producer that would be incredible for us to be able to work with. I know he's done stuff with like Father John Misty too in the last couple of years recently.
All right. Well, anyone's connected to any of them, absolutely make the connection. You know where the comment section is below.
Right.
We know how to reach them. and let's make some magic happen for these guys. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, you got to put good things out in the world, and you never know what comes back to you. As everyone knows, we are huge proponents of the fact that art is not free. I mean, Charlie, do people just show up and, well, they probably show up and try to take the paintings off the walls, but art is typically not free. And these guys are working their ass off to make it for you. So down in the description below, you're going to have links to their Bandcamp. You're going to have links to merch, where they're playing, all that stuff, because 2026 is going to be a huge year for them, and they need your support. So please support them, all the artists that you really enjoy listening to. They all deserve it, because without that support, Ari's going to have to be an engineer forever, and he'd rather be a full-time musician. So let's make that dream happen, right? We like to share, kind of as we kind of turn into home base here for to wrap things up a little bit. The love of music. We all enjoy different styles, different genres. And a lot of times when we're at the gym, out on a walk, relaxing, just driving the car, whatever, we're listening to something, and it's something that we really love. So if we were just sitting around having beers and you're like, Scott, I've been listening to so-and-so lately, and I'm so digging them, you got to check this out. Who are some artists, either one or two, that each of you kind of listen to when you're not making your own music, that you're just really digging, you love sharing with other people for the love of music?
Yeah, Billy Joel Jr. has got this new album out that I've been really loving to drink beer to.
It's a good beer album.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go first. This might be a little controversial today, but I've been listening a lot to Timbaland, and his earlier music and the albums and singles that he's produced, and I found myself being like, yo, listen to how he mixes these drums or all this stuff. It's one of those things that I've heard a million times, but the production in these songs I'm always baffled by. Just they kind of go crazy, and I know they're not in the same vein of Billy Joel Jr. productions, but there's a lot of through line there where I'm like, I wonder how we could kind of use some of that in our productions. So Timbaland's my answer.
Will the next Billy Joel Jr. album sound like a Timbaland download now? I mean, considering you have a co-producer.
Yes.
Let's do it.
I'm saying yes right now.
Charlie, how about you?
Yeah, my winter album, as Ari kind of mentioned, my Midwest proclivities, my Midwest emo kind of stuff is, my Midwest album is Forever and Always, this album called Rot Forever by a band called Sioux Falls, which now goes by the name Strange Ranger. They don't do a ton of music. They just scored a film, actually, which I need to see. But this amazing Midwest emo album called The Rot Forever under Sioux Falls. Just no line in there is wasted. Everything is just so intentional. Even with, kind of these long, sprawling 7.5-minute songs. So, yeah, very bleak, very great.
Cool. Ari?
This is like a little obscure, but a friend of mine who, I think we all have these friends in our lives who introduce you to like fresh or sometimes just like deep cut music that then you have a deep obsession with, like a random band from the 2000s. But recently, what I've been listening to is a band called Lift to Experience, which is like a really obscure band from Texas that released like one double album in 2001 that was like produced by the guys who helped produce like Cocteau Twins. And it's this like magic mix of like Slint and Jeff Buckley and My Bloody Valentine. It has like this like crazy blend. Like sometimes it sounds like Radiohead. But like I would tell you to listen to this song called Falling from Cloud 9 from their double LP, which is called like Texas Jerusalem Crossroad or something like that. It's really been on my winter rotation like crazy. And I think it's probably going to inspire some of the next couple of BJJ songs that I've been cooking with because it's just so unique. And it's a band that like I don't think they have anything else released but that double LP. But like yeah, it was released back in like 2001 or something.
Huh. And I live in Texas, and I hadn't heard of it, but now I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yep.
And look, I really appreciate that Nate went with Timberland, because I was afraid he was going to go on for about 45 minutes about Taylor Swift, because he has the look. So we got through that one pretty unscathed.
Yeah, I was about to say it, but I thought Charlie should go next.
Yeah.
So look, it's 2026. What's going on with you guys for the year? Let's wrap this thing up on a high note. What's the big any big tent poles? You can have another album, big tour. Any shows? What's going on?
We're taking January off. We worked our ass off this year, so we're resting. We went in October and recorded like 5 or 6 demos for new songs. We've been in talks with some new recording studios in Chicago and working out some deals for how we would plan out a tracking and recording process for the next album. But we're basically sitting on another album worth of material that is unreleased. At our show in last Thursday, we sort of debuted alongside the album, brand new stuff for the audience. So we're ready to record new stuff. It's just a matter of planning it out and executing the tracking process. I think for 2026, what we want to do is work on finding partners for that and for our previous releases. So looking at maybe labels or distribution agreements to help us grow our audience, because ultimately that's the goal, right? Grow the audience, grow the market size, and find ways to continue sharing our music with people who haven't heard us yet.
Oh, cool. Well, hey, look, once you get back from that Florida vacation in the middle of January, because who wants to be in Chicago in the middle of that? It's a little bit cold. Here's what we're gonna do. When the new album comes out, maybe by the end of the year, you never know. We're gonna get everybody back together, and then we're gonna put Carl in the hot seat the whole time. You guys can just sit back and judge him, because Carl, we wish you were here. But I wish you guys the best for 26. I mean, that's great. You've got some stuff in the can, and we're always about bringing people back to kind of look at the evolution and where things went, because music is always changing. The business is always changing, and people feel differently from today to tomorrow. So you never know how you guys will think about what we've done today and a year from now when the new album comes out. Hopefully, hopefully sooner than later. So guys, I appreciate you making time. This has been a great conversation. Great to get to know you. If I get up to Chicago, I'll try and wrap a trip around a date so I can see you guys play live. If you live in the Chicago area and you see these guys are playing out, go buy a ticket. Go to the links below. Buy the
February
music.
20th, March 7th, April 3rd. Those are the dates I have right now.
all those links will be below. We're going to sell some tickets. So
Scott,
guys,
thanks so much.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys take it easy. Come back, everybody. We appreciate you watching us this long, and just go out and be good to each other and live a good life. That's the best you can do. So thanks again, guys. It's great getting to know you. Bye for now.
Peace.